Hi, I'm Debbie Goodman, and this is Down by the River. With me is Bart Vaughn. He is a board member here at the San Joaquin River Parkway. Good morning, Bart.
Good morning. How are you doing?
It's nice to meet you. So tell me, what is your position? What do you do here at the Parkway?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to have been a board member on the Parkway board for about 15 years now.
Wow.
And it's an incredible organization with a really neat goal to establish a parkway along the San Joaquin River.
That's beautiful.
The San Joaquin River is the premier natural feature we have down here in the floor of the valley. We're fortunate enough to live close to it, and we enjoy it. Our goal is to establish the parkway, extend trails, and provide access to the river.
That's great. Now, I was out here with Coke Hallowell looking at the pond before. This is just fabulous. It's like a learning center for children that teachers and parents can bring their kids out here and walk along the trail. Would you happen to know how long the trail is all the way around? Is it less than a mile?
We have a little short trail here. It's about half a mile around this
Okay.
little pond. And this is a reclaimed mining site. So we purchased this property and acquired the house from a mining company that's still working here nearby. They've finished their work here. They dug out the rock thereafter. They have been heavily involved in the restoration of this small pond for several years. We established a small trail here. The key trail is the Eaton Trail that starts here and goes all the way back to Woodward Park.
I remember many years ago, it was in the mid to late 90s, before the house had been restored. I've been a member for quite a long time. I just sort of dropped out of sight for a while, but I remember when a big group of us met in Woodward Park and walked the Eaton Trail all the way down here to see the house. Of course, they had shuttles to take us back because it's a bit of a walk. It's what, about 3 miles?
It's about 3.5 miles back to Woodward Park.
So what are we looking at here at the pond today?
Well, this morning is a beautiful morning with the sun out and a little damp from a little rain last night. We're looking at the pond and has its ducks and coots. Occasionally the egrets and herons come through here. This morning we have 2 black-crowned night herons that are out on the pond over on the side here. In the winter we see them nesting here, roosting here overnight, and they've been out flying around already this morning, and they're down near the shore of the pond.
Okay, can I have a look through your
Sure,
binoculars?
absolutely. There you go.
All right.
You'll see them right down there near the shore,
Oh my gosh,
and they're beautiful birds.
this is just fantastic.
In addition, we have kestrels, a small falcon. We have hawks in the area. We have a lot of birds that use some of our palm trees as nesting sites. So we have these palm trees that are about 100 years old. Some of them have been hit by lightning. They have died, but we're still maintaining the trunks as habitat for the birds. And you see all the birds out this morning.
Well, that's great.
Now, in a little while, sometime in the next month or so, we may even see the reappearance of the bald eagles.
Oh, great.
And so we have bald eagles that fly down. Some stay here all year round up in the mountains, but we have bald eagles that come down to Millerton Lake from northern Canada.
Wow.
And during the day, they fly out to go hunting. And it's not unusual to see a bald eagle sitting in one of our trees in the back, in the sycamore trees, out hunting for fish or looking for a way to take a fish from someone else that caught a fish.
Wow, it must be a lot of fun to work. Now, you work on, or I say work, but you're a volunteer.
Sure.
Okay. Are you out here once a week, or?
Well, the board members volunteer to come out and be the hosts on weekends, to unlock the gates and open up the welcome center and greet people and talk to them. And then we also volunteer to do hikes and things like that. So usually 1 or 2 times a month, each board member is out here at the River Center.
How many board members are there?
Oh, I think we have about 20 now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Quite a
big group.
few.
Well, we have lots of other activities too. We have lots of committees. We have board meetings. We have executive board meetings. And so there's lots of activity. There are parties for the Parkway.
Well,
There are
that's one of
events.
my favorites.
I know. Everyone loves the parties for the
Everybody
Parkway.
loves parties for the Parkway. I'm hoping that we can come to the kickoff party. We plan to go down to City Hall and capture the works of art that will be up for auction that benefits the Parkway. So I was telling Coke that one of my favorites of all time was the horseback riding trip. Started in Woodward Park, and we took a ride down to the river and back, and many of the people had never even been on a horse before. So it was a great experience, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, we also find that many people that live here in the metropolitan area haven't been out to the river. And so we do provide canoe trips and now kayak trips during the summer. We've concluded the season because it's gotten colder now, but we start up again in the spring based on river conditions, and we get out and do half-day trips, 3 or 4 hours on the river, or full-day trips, 6 or 7 hours on the river. And we have a beautiful reach of the San Joaquin River out here nearby, and so it's a wonderful resource.
And where do the canoe trips start from?
Well, we have different versions. We can go and start in different places, but usually we go up to the county park at Lost Lake, and we put in there, and then it's a half-day trip down here to a small property that we own on the river, near the river center at Owl Hollow. We can also continue past this spot on down to near Woodward Park, where we can take out also.
Okay. Now, is that also one of the parties that people can buy through Parties for the Parkway?
There are parties that include canoe outings. And one of the most popular is one that does the first half of the trip and then ends up with a camping adventure at Owl Hollow on the riverbank overnight. And then the next day, the second part of the trip is concluded in the morning.
Great. And that takes place during the summer? Is there any particular month, June, July, or August?
Usually all those months. Any of those months are open. So we've had 2 or 3 different trips that have involved canoeing.
Okay. Yeah, I volunteered to work at a couple of the Parties for the Parkway, and they weren't so much the nature type ones. They were usually held at someone's house and we served dinner. Can you tell us a little bit more about the nature-oriented ones? Like isn't there one in a bat cave?
Well, we've had really interesting ones over the years, and each year there's a different mix of parties. The president of our board and I have sponsored a couple parties that actually took everyone out into the far distant reaches of the Mojave Desert to visit a little petroglyph canyon. We have other parties that include nature walks with biologists out doing the professional bird watching and coaching for those of us who don't know that much about the birds. And so some of these are hikes, some of these are canoe trips, some of these are walks, or car trips to various sites to see nature preserves. We get a lot of great creative ideas from the people that are involved in the Parkway.
Oh, I'll bet. Now, these Parties for the Parkway, are they open only to members of the San Joaquin River Parkway, or are they open to the public also?
No, they're open to everyone.
Okay. So the kickoff party is held in March, usually.
Correct.
And so people can come to that, and I love the little booklets. I've saved my little booklets over the years. Beautiful artwork. And they can purchase these parties.
Correct. And they can also get online and connect to the Parkway staff through the internet. And inquire in terms of the parties and party availability, and they can do sign-ups. They can visit the River Center and stop in and see the staff also.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with us this morning.
I've enjoyed it. I'm happy to see you out here. It's such a beautiful morning, and for many of us, coming out here and spending a day is just a wonderful time away from our normal activities.
I call it cheap therapy. You know, it's something they can do with the kids for free.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, Bart.
Okay, well, you're welcome.
Hi, and welcome to Down by the River. I'm your host, Debbie Goodman. And with me is Clary Krager. Clary, welcome.
Hi. Nice to be here.
Now, I understand you're one of the founding mothers of the San Joaquin River Parkway Trust.
Yes.
And-
And the San Joaquin River Committee, which was the organization that founded the San Joaquin River Parkway Trust.
Okay, how long ago was that?
Um,
1980s, 1990s?
1984, 85.
Okay, wow. What sparked your interest in this?
I live right down the road from here, and I took my son, when he was little, down to the river, and the whole sky would be blacked out with geese.
Mm.
And we actually ended up going out on the Ball Ranch. And there were geese out there, all kinds of critters, deer, etc. And so when we moved here, I didn't really even know there was a river here. We just bought the house because it had nice scenery in the mountains.
Uh-huh.
And so, of course, over time, as you visit the river, it tells you its secrets, and you fall in love with it. And then later on, because there was a thing in the newspaper that said there was going to be a development on the Ball Ranch, I was horrified because the thought of putting houses down next to the river was just an awful idea. And so I met up with a couple of other people who had experience with the river, 2 other women. And so then we started on this long journey to protect the river, and it goes on today too. It's not something that's just
Disappeared.
done.
Right.
Yes, there are threats right now that we all have to attend to.
I remember there was a big scandal in Fresno about the mid-90s called Operation Rezone. And I remember going down to City Hall, and also that's about the time when I joined in with the Parkway,
Oh yes,
trying
yeah.
to save the river.
Well, and of course at that time, one of the spokespersons for, I guess, the dark side, you could say, ended up going to jail, but now he is again a spokesman.
17 people
But-
went to prison over that.
That was
Yeah.
quite interesting.
Quite a scandal. I think it would be a great book, but yeah, let's get back to the more pleasant side of the river. So what is some of the things? I understand that you're one of the hiking guides.
Yes, I'm a excuse me, a nature docent. And a nature docent means that you take people out to different sites along the river, and we walk a certain particular areas of interest depending on the season. We usually have themes that go with them, and people from the community can go ahead and go on the walk. And we point out the different plant life, the birds, the mammals, and we have stories of experiences that we've had along the river in terms of the creatures. And I think one of the most interesting one was we saw a doe that had treed a bobcat.
Oh my gosh, that would have
Yes.
been great.
Yes, and the bobcat moved to another tree, so did the doe. And eventually, after much scrambling around, the bobcat finally got down far enough, jumped off the tree, and ran downriver. And the excuse me, the doe waited around a little bit and then took off. Well, there's a sequel to that story, and the sequel is, yesterday we were down at the river, and we saw the bobcat who walks fairly often around there, and he was just taking his time, meandering along, and there were a family of deer standing on the other side, and one of them picked up on the bobcat, and we saw the bobcat turn, look, and take off, and they all chased him.
Good.
Well, what's interesting though is that the bobcat can kill a deer. It's not a usual event, but also a deer can kill a bobcat. So they are really not friends, and I had never realized that. And that's one of the stories of the many that we tell on our nature walks along the river.
That's fantastic. I'm going to have to go along with you on one of these
Oh, I
sometime.
think you should.
How often do you do these?
Well, I particularly do them once a month. There are
good.
other walks that they do here at the house. If we had time, we'd probably do more. We're very lucky that people are interested, and so we love taking them out and showing them different parts of the river, because there isn't access to the whole river at this point in time. And so docent-led walks is one way to have access to the river.
Yeah, I don't think that I would just go down there on my own. I would want somebody who's been down there before and probably knows the ins and outs. And
Well, and there are locked gates. So
oh, okay. Well, maybe that's a good thing.
that does put a dent to some extent in people visiting the river. Although, you know, the goal of the Parkway is to make the river available to the public, and that's one of the things that we strive for every day, and that's the point of the walks and all kinds of other events that go on along the river. And, you know, the more the public supports the Parkway, the more opportunity we have to put money into operation and maintenance so that those areas are open year-round to the public on a basis that respects the habitat along the river. Not all areas are open all the time because some areas are very sensitive habitat and ecological preserves, but there are other areas along the river that you know, people can have nice passive recreation, picnicking, fishing, kayaking, those kinds of things. And of course, the riverway itself belongs to the public. It is a public area as long as you can have access to it. Anybody can, in a boat, or mostly a boat, I can't swim it, or a kayak, whatever, can travel the river. And so lots of people do that.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I have done a few of the smaller trips, the canoeing, which was great fun, because that's just something that I never had the opportunity to do. So a friend and I, it was several years back, we were at one of the, I think it was one of the appreciation parties for the volunteers, and we just took a little canoe ride. It was just loads of fun, and I think that a lot of people who never have that opportunity would appreciate the fact that you offer that.
Well, and what's wonderful about a canoe trip or a kayaking trip is that you get to see the river in a way that you can't see it any other way.
Right.
And you really see the magic of the scenery, the creatures that are there, the sound of the water. You know, if you go in the evening, you'll hear the river, the beavers smack their tails on the water, and so it's a whole other adventure.
You actually get to look down into the water, whereas when you're standing on the side, you see more just across the top. So as you're going down the river in a kayak or a canoe, you actually get to look right down into the clear water and maybe see some fish.
Oh yes, and in fact, I mean, that of course brings up the whole bringing salmon back to the river, and you know, that's at this moment in time going forward to replace the salmon run that was killed off with the building of Bryant Dam. And so just recently about 200 salmon were put into the river, and they're being monitored as to where they go and taken back out and moved someplace else so that they can see how well they will do as part of the study and process to bring them back. You know, through a lawsuit, they are required, and that means the state government and the federal government are working together to bring back the salmon.
Right.
And so really that's going to be a whole other adventure that people get to have along the river. Is maybe in a few years they'll be down pulling salmon out of the river.
Fantastic. Now, what can the public expect throughout the year? I think you have certain months where you do certain things. It seems like you do something special around April, May through the Parkway. Is it planting trees or?
Well, you know, one of the things that's happened to the San Joaquin River is that much of it has been altered by man's activities for agriculture primarily, and also for gravel mining. And so restoration is a big part of what the San Joaquin River Parkway does. And they do that at certain times of year when the trees will grow properly, or whatever it is that they're putting in. And generally, those are put in the cooler months of the year. They don't do it in the hotter months because those trees have to be able to live on their own after 5 years. So watering is not always an option. And so it's very important to make sure that they're put in properly. Have to prevent gophers from chewing up the roots, which is one of the issues. And so teams of people from the public and from the Parkway, also other organizations join in to do plantings on many sites along the river. Also, as part of that same restoration is to remove exotic plants from the river edge. There's scarlet wisteria. There's also yellow star thistle, which is a nightmare that grows on the land. And so there are a number of different exotic plants that also have to be attended to as part of restoring the river, and then of course replanting with native plants. Everything that's put in is put in that are native plants that grow along the San Joaquin River, not just native plants in California.
Well, where can the public go to find out what's going on at the Parkway? Like, if probably your website.
The website, yes, would
Okay.
be ideal. And
What's one of the events maybe you do in January? I know that March is the month that you do the Parties for the Parkway kickoff party.
well, we're doing nature walks.
Nature walks,
in
okay.
January. January's pretty cold, so it's harder to get people out. I would imagine I saw some of the restoration team out here, so they may be working on a restoration project that people could join into.
Okay.
There may be a party for the Parkway.
Okay. And February, because I know that there's something we do, like, is it Respite Down by the River? They have readings and music. It seems like they've always got something going on out here.
Yes, I think Respite for the River goes on from April through October.
Okay.
And Respite for the River is where writers, poets, musicians, people who are involved in some kind of public activity make a presentation.
Okay.
And you come, it's usually on Thursday nights, and you come at 6 or 6:30, I can't remember, I think it's 6, and you bring your picnic dinner, and everybody sits down on the lawn and visits for a while, and about 7, the speaker, or musicians, or whoever they may be, then they perform, and then the public gets to talk with them and find out more about whatever their specialty is. And so that's really great fun. Mr. Masamoto, who is the farmer who farms peaches, was here last year with his wife and daughter, and that was very popular. And that was one of the respites for the river. We've had poets read, musicians. It was one of Coke's brilliant ideas, and so it goes on, and it's wonderful.
That's great. See
And it's free to the public.
There you go. That would be great to get some more people out here and sort of spark their interest in the Parkway. I think it's great what you're doing out here. I, being a teacher, would love to do field trips, or I'd like to see field trips. Do you get a lot of that?
Well, they do. They do field trips. the staff goes to the school and does a presentation, and then the children come out to the river and have a half-day experience. A half-day, I'm saying, depending on the school and the situation. And then there's a follow-up where the kids
Fantastic.
talk about what they've learned, and the teachers are prepared. And so that's, and there are thousands and thousands of school kids have come to the river to learn about it over the years. And there are, really devoted docents who do a beautiful job teaching about the river.
That's great. All right, well, thank you so much for talking to us, Larry.